Welcome to our virtual roundtable discussion. We're going to be talking about VS Code and Broadcom's Code for Z and how that technology can be used for mainframe application development. So let's jump right in. First topic I want to explore is around the value of VS Code. So clearly VS Code is well suited for cross-platform development. It's built into the architecture. Also useful in that regard for the mainframe, as you all know. Also regarded as a productivity enhancement. Now, of course, on the mainframe, that's especially for people who are not already familiar and already productive with ISPF. And we often hear our clients talk about using VS Code as an example of what it means to put a modern development option in front of new hires, for example, or folks new to the mainframe. So Sam, why don't we start with you? When it comes to the value of VS Code to Desjardins, how do you see things? Where are you seeing value?
I see a great benefit for efficiency for every developer. I have this story that's pretty awesome that I have this intern working with me, and I put him in front of VS Code, and actually he was faster than me to find a solution for a bug in a COBOL program that I was using ISPF to fix, and he was using VS Code with everything installed. And he never did COBOL in his life, and he actually found the problem faster than me because he had the problems and he saw the lines, and he was. When you put somebody in an environment that he's comfortable with, like VS Code, I think then the language or whatever he's doing, it's obsolete for him. He doesn't even care because he's comfortable where he is. So I see great value in that. Yeah. So for newcomers and things like that.
Yeah, typically you want to give that guy another problem to solve.
Or maybe I'm just bad. So it might be one or the other.
Yeah. So Jules, I know you guys at DAF are using VS Code and Broadcom's Code for Z. Where are you seeing the value?
Actually, as Sam said, it's for newcomers and people that are already used to VS Code, for example. They're up and running a lot faster because they already are familiar with the applications and they don't have to learn ISPF or things like that. But we also got the feedback from our end users that it's faster to understand the code due to the syntax highlighting. It makes it easier to read. You're able to scroll through code a little bit easier than using your functions keys in the mainframe terminal. So that's a great experience for them.
You're not limited by a number of lines, like 80 or something like that. So
Yeah, I think that's one of the first things that people who are new to VS Code notice immediately. Mm-hmm. Yeah, the screen real estate. So Arnal, IDC I know has done a lot of work at looking at modern mainframe development platforms. What would you add to the conversation when it comes to the value around VS Code?
What I would say, Peter, is that the value delivered by VS Code for mainframe development is really multivalent, and Sam and Jules have already touched on, a couple of drivers of value or attributes by which VS Code adds value. One of which I think is the acceleration of developer velocity, as mentioned by Sam, and the way in which this non-mainframe developer was able to solve a problem quickly, even though they did not have deep experience with the mainframe. The other key benefit that we're noticing is the way in which VS Code provides mainframe developers with technologies that accelerate development, as mentioned by Jules, such as syntax highlighting and code auto-completion and code formatting and debugging, version control, and support for Git. And the last benefit that we found from our research that I'll mention right now is the opportunity or the enablement of organizations to standardize on one tool chain for development, so inclusive of mainframe development. And obviously, it's the case that certain mainframe developers will continue to want to use mainframe specific developer tools, but part of the value of VS Code, it seems to me, is this wonderful opportunity for non mainframe developers, and they might be called Gen Z and Gen Y developers, to collaborate with mainframe developers using the same tool set. And so there's this enablement of enriched and amplified collaboration, which I think is important.
Right. Yeah. Arnal, I know you speak with a lot of mainframe clients in your role. Would you say that those value propositions or those messages are being embraced? Are they resonating with the clients that you speak to?
Yes, absolutely. And in the context of customers that I talk to about mainframe development, one thing I would say is that one of the dominant trends in the space of legacy application modernization and transformation is the feeling that there's less of a need to completely rewrite and refactor mainframe applications, and correspondingly modern developer tools such as VS Code enable organizations to enrich and extend mainframe applications by bringing modern developer tools and modern development functionality to mainframes. And I think this is one of the dominant themes, the trend toward the enrichment of mainframe applications using technology such as VS Code and Git, as opposed to rewriting them from scratch,
Right.
precisely because of the benefits that we just mentioned.
Yeah, I can see that. Thank you for that. So, Ivo, I don't want to leave you out of the conversation. I know that you're in an engineering team here at Broadcom, and
Yeah.
you're mixed in with a set of folks who have a preference as to what tools they do use. What do you have to say about the value? Where are you seeing the benefits?
When I started in 2009 in this company, the only way how to code was ISPF editor, and that time I came from university. I knew Visual Studio, so for me it was like, okay, I have to use it. After some time, when I saw that it is not very effective to as some said, you can see more lines than just 50 or 60. And it's not only about the lines, but number of modules. I work on a product that has thousands of modules and thousands of macros. And if I incorporate even the compiler listing, for example, in ISPF editor, the only way how to navigate through those modules was search for, which works to some extent, but not for a huge product like I work in. So the navigation is for me, it was like I was in a black tunnel and I saw a few green letters and suddenly I see light, I see everything. So and another thing that is, I think, one of the biggest help to navigate is those built-in regular expressions that you can use not only in one module, but across all the modules and across actually even folders. So all this together helps also, for example, with code reviews in a different role, not only as a developer, but then maybe as a team lead or architect to do some to create some regular expressions to quickly check if the code follows some standards and conventions. So really the value is huge, and in my team majority, because I was kind of trying to not really enforce it, but when I just showed how others can use it, they did it. They started, and I don't think they will go back.
Yeah, that's great. Sam, I think you were trying to jump in earlier. Do you have anything to add to that?
Yeah, there's a few things I want to add, Peter. It's first, I think that a message that I want to tell to people who are looking forward to getting in it or not to use VS Code is, behind it, it actually is an API that branches itself to VS Code, and whether it be ZOSMS or REST API, that they're both free products. So one thing I want to tell is if you're fragile or you're scared that it might be a solution that could be really expensive. It's not. And actually, it runs a lot on the zip, both of those products. So you can get a lot of value out of it if you're now just looking into getting into it. So yeah, that would be another positive aspect of it.
So let's talk about getting started. So culture is one of the big hurdles that we hear of in any conversation that relates to app dev tooling. In my experiences as an engineering leader, I have come to understand that software engineers are quite opinionated about the tools that they use. What has your experience been, and what would you advise or coach someone who's new to choosing which tool to use? And would you push them in the direction of VS Code? And if so, how would you advise that they get going on that?
I think that VS Code is another thing that's very customizable. So I would tell them that they can use it, but they can extend it and fit their purposes or their jobs because it's so customizable. So you can even have dogs in the background running around and things like that. So I mean, it's great. If you like being lightweight, you can be. If you like having a lot of information on your screen, you can. So I think it's great for that. So just leave him, show him the ropes, but then he can put it in his colors that he would like and things like that.
Right.
Peter, one thing that I found from talking to clients is the value of the gradual and incremental introduction of VS Code into development teams. And so tactically what this means is allowing a select group of mainframe developers, for example, who are more amenable to using VS Code to have the first opportunity to leverage it for mainframe specific development and to showcase their successes and effectively to evangelize the value proposition of VS Code throughout the larger team of mainframe developers. And we found that this has been incredibly effective as a strategy. So I'm wondering if anyone here experienced that.
Yeah, that's the direction we went, Arnold. We have this champion per teams that uses VS Code, and then it usually that translate to them showing other people, and then having the mouth to ear.
Yeah.
I think it's also important. Sorry, just one thing. The beginning can to start working with VS Code. It's not, especially for someone who is not really experienced and using it daily. It takes time in the beginning. I remember that basically I had to stop for days to work on my assignments on my project to set up everything so I can really feel like I'm more productive. So the beginning, especially for not experienced VS Code developers, it is slow. So having someone not only showing but helping to configure it, and VS Code can be huge. So start with very simple thing. Just get all the code so you can see all the modules. So the beginning to set up everything, to help and start from basic things, that's the way to go.
Got it.
We had 3 trainees started last year December, and we said to them, okay, you can use either VS Code or use your terminal emulator. Choose whatever you like. I think that they maybe only signed once into the terminal emulator, and for the rest they just use VS Code because, of course, they come from school. They're probably acquainted already with VS Code, so it's easy for them to start using it. But the funny there is also that there was one senior developer who was guiding them, and he said, VS Code, that's nice, but I will just stick with my terminal emulator and ISPF. And sometimes I see him actually opening VS Code and just using the the tools they have there, just because it makes it also easier for him. Maybe, for example, just
Right.
having two sources next to each other, and it
Yeah, I think
helps
there's a
engage also other people to see, hey, this is possible, and you can start using it.
Yeah, I think there's a delicate balance, and Arnaud, you alluded to this a minute ago, and we certainly hold this point of view in the role that I have in working with our clients around giving choice while at the same time avoiding culture shock or reducing productivity to a grinding halt. So I suppose, are you all seeing that in the ways in which you've introduced VS Code? It certainly sounds that way. Were there any risks that you encountered in approaching it that way, or how did you see the risk aspect of it?
We try to reduce. We know there's going to be a productivity issue for everyone that wants to adapt to a new system or environment. But with those people, we actually try to do binomes work session. The one person that's experimented with VS Code would actually help the other person do their work, their actually work. So then they wouldn't feel like they fall behind, and they can do real use cases and things like that. So I think Binome was a good benefit for us.
Yeah, that's great. We haven't talked much about the new to mainframe, using VS Code as a tool, or as a carrot, if you will, to encourage newcomers to the mainframe to sign on. Have you guys encountered that? Have you used modern tooling as a means of bringing new folks on board?
Yeah, sure. They do look more excited when you show them, hey, you guys gonna be working on VS Code. And because when you think about the mainframe, when I was going out of school, it's this: oh, you're gonna work in old school technologies, but you're gonna have safety of having a job. Where now it's not this; it's you're gonna work on up-to-date things, and you're going to have job safety. So it's the better of the both world. That's how I feel, at least. And
question for you: how did you facilitate collaboration between non-mainframe developers who might be Gen Y and Gen Z developers, for example, who spend most of their time using VS Code, with mainframe developers, because clearly that collaboration and is an important dimension of successful mainframe development with VS Code.
we try to we try to use as much as their technology as we can, because you talked about having one type of tool for one problem, like VS Code is the ID, primarily the ID or things like that. Well, it's the same thing for the pipelines and things. So as we get more modern, we get this vocabulary that the mainframers didn't have. So like having Git or commits or pushes and things like that. Having the same vocabulary is something that helps bind them together, and having the same tools and the same issues also breaks the silos, bringing people all together because you have the same problem, the same issues. Because at the end of the day, the mainframe is just another computer, like a server or a Linux or something like that. And I think getting to show everybody that we're up to date or we're getting there helps facilitate, I think, the interaction between both. Does that make sense? I'm sorry.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, the problem of collaboration between different types of developers in the enterprise is a huge problem for practically every company today. So that's great insight from you. Thank you.
Yeah, I like the way you put it, Sam, because obviously the mainframe has value, in terms of the workload and criticality to the business, but making the experience and working with the mainframe as easy as other platforms is I think where you're going with that.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I think Jules, you were
Jules,
going
I
to
think you were
get in.
trying to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We went to a career day of a local university last year, somewhere in the beginning of the summer, and it was also with different departments from our company, and yeah, people there is in ICT education, and they said wait, you work in the mainframe, isn't that indeed for older people? And then we said, yeah, no, it's something new to work in. But they were also quite, amazed that we use actually VS Code. That it's just a modern way to interact with it. And the fun thing there is to go back to what I said before. One of the people I spoke there started working for DAF last year, December. So they somehow were attracted by using VS Code and possibly to work on a mainframe. But it was nice to see that people did the first thing from working on a mainframe. That's not something I expect to do, and then actually doing it.
That's nice.
Yeah, it's a great story.
One point also is I know Code4Z is good for syntax checker for COBOL and Rex and all those old school language that are used to be on the mainframe. But one part that's also awesome about having VS Code is that you have access to unlimited extensions. So as you know, now Python's is something that's enabled on the mainframe, and you have Node.js with JavaScript and all those technologies. So that's another plus you're getting because you can do those modern, in quotes, modern language in the mainframe. So having this IDE also facilitates the syntax for those languages and things like that you may do on the mainframe eventually.
Right. So before we close, what would be your one piece of advice for someone considering VS Code for the mainframe? What would you tell them?
Try it.
Try it. Get started.
Exactly. Try it, especially for maybe programmers already, not the newcomers, because for them, or from this university, it will be easier to pursue them. But for experienced ISPF programmers, like I actually was, I would say just try it, because the benefits, even though the investment, there has to be some investment to get started, but it definitely makes sense to spend some time, play with it, and find the beauty and try it.
Yeah, it's great. Go ahead, Sam.
It can be, of course, you have to modernize, because people with the knowledge on ISPF, for example, they're becoming less and less. Newer people have probably the knowledge of modern IDEs, but if you have a lot of tailor-made applications running on your mainframe, for example, we have a management layer built in our database. It can be difficult to integrate. Luckily, we had a lot of support from Broadcom, but we also saw it as an opportunity, because our senior people, they will soon retire, and the knowledge that they have will then be gone. And by integrating, or at least modernizing, when I'm speaking for myself, we got a lot of knowledge on how our system is built up, how our management layers is working, and modernizing that part gives you the knowledge that you need to be able to support it for the future. So that's something that we didn't expect up front, but is a nice addition to it.
Yeah, it's great. Thank you for sharing. So guys, I appreciate you taking time out of your busy days to come and have a chat with us. So thank you for that, and have a great day.
All right. Thank you. Have a good one.
Thank you.